Can you tell me about the decedent?
Danielle Wills, 16, robbed a convenience store. She has quite the record. Got bumped up from a group home. She fits the profile.
Are you a profiler?
Suicide rates are quite high in these places. Are we debating what happened here? That's the warden.
Can I get your pokey thing?
Pokey thing.
Yeah, you hit people with it. It's...
Can I read baton?
I woke up and he was dead.
Hi, I'm Morwyn Brebner, executive producer and showrunner of the CW's new series, Coroner. And here with us today are Adrienne Mitchell, Serinda Swan, Roger Cross, Tamara Podemski, and Kiley May from our show.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Here we are. We're all here in the
Yes.
Metaverse, which is where we live, in the Metaverse now.
Can we travel through the Metaverse? I want to just zap myself over wherever I can. Doesn't work like that?
Yes, it does.
Okay, transporters. Yeah.
Woo! Maybe everyone would go around and just introduce yourself and say who you are and what you do on the show.
Adrienne?
I am Adrienne Mitchell. I am the executive producer of Coroner.
Woo! Woohoo! Hi everyone, I'm Serinda Swan. I play Jenny Cooper on Coroner, which is pretty exciting.
I'm Roger Cross. I play Detective Donovan McAvoy, and good to be here.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tamara Podemski, and I play Allison Trent. Yeah, really good to be in the Metaverse. I've never been in the Metaverse, but it's good. It feels good.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kiley May. I play River Baitz, the resident butcher. I'm the pathologist assistant.
Nice.
Hi, everyone, and everyone who's joining us. Thank you. I wonder if just for the cast, if we could go around and if you guys could say, describe your character in 3 words.
That's so hard.
I know, right?
Weird, wonderful, and it's so hard because I'm capable. There's all these amazing things. Also, a little bit
That's
wild.
more than 3 words.
I know. All right, weird, wonderful, wild. Because I like alliterations.
The 3 W's.
The 3 W's.
There you
The 3
go.
W's.
Let's see, McAvoy. I'd say McAvoy is hardworking, altruistic, and still confused.
Right on.
And more than 3 words, Roger.
And all 3 confused.
Score on altruistic, though. I will give you that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So, as Allison Trent, the coroner's assistant, I am going to keep to my 3-word limit and say hypervigilant. That's counting as 1.
Yeah.
That's counting as 1.
I like it though.
Loyal.
Yeah.
And I'd have to say stylish.
Yeah.
Yes.
She cares.
Yeah.
She cares
Very
a lot
stylish.
about her dresses.
She does.
We love
She
her.
does.
dresses.
It's true. She looks always amazing. We're living in the metaverse and in all the time zones at once because we're about to start shooting season 3.
Mhm.
We've been on for 2 seasons in Canada. And
Wait a minute. Did you do Kylie?
Kylie,
Kylie, shit! I mean, can I swear?
you
Yeah.
can't swear.
Yes.
I felt like Kylie was beaming thoughts to me. I'm so sorry, Kylie.
She
okay.
has to describe herself in 3
It's
words.
because you said butcher before. I was like, Kylie's description was so
She's
good.
done it.
Yes.
Do it more words.
Okay, so River Baitz is witty,
Yes.
astringent, and efficient.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really
She's
do
good.
like all you
She's
guys.
good.
I should have gone last because
I know.
right? I'm like, oh. All right. We'll come back to you
Sorry
later.
to interrupt you, Lauren, but I just felt that Kylie had to have her
No,
thing.
I totally thought it's because I have my own nerves, so I got nervous.
Okay,
and
I know.
Ooh.
Red butcher.
Good.
But
Everything, you're doing an amazing job. Okay.
oh, you're so nice. See, this is like we lift each other up on the show.
There you go.
There we go. We're supporting each other. I was just gonna say that we are in like this weird time zone because we start season 3 soon. We start shooting season 3. We've shot 2 seasons. We air, and the 2 seasons have aired in Canada and also other places. Like Adrienne, where else have we aired?
We've already aired a lot of places. We've aired in the UK on a Sky Witness and TV.
South Africa.
Spain too. And
Spain.
We just did press in Madrid.
yeah, we did.
In France, Germany. We're kind of international.
We're a
Yeah.
highly international group of people. And so now we're airing on the CW in the US, which is like very exciting. And I wonder if before we get into like the talking about like how we are and how it all works, the sausage gets made. Adrienne, would you just talk about how, because you're the one who actually optioned the books by Emma Hall that the show is based on. And I wonder if you would talk about how you found them.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were looking for something that is an investigative series with a strong female lead. And our wonderful development coordinator, Jessica Shadlock, came across these great books. And we from the UK, we read the books, and the character just totally jumped out. Jenny Cooper, like totally jumped out at us because we're all, we related to her extreme anxiety, her traumas, her trying to move through the world in a really high functioning way. She has a really highly responsible job with all the crazy things that she's dealing with. There's just something really fascinating about seeing somebody who's dealing with serious mental health issues, and they're not perfect. They make mistakes. They are hilarious, and they sort of fall apart but put themselves back together again. And they have this kind of crazy drive. She had this kind of crazy drive and momentum. So we loved that. And that's what we said, hey, who's the perfect writer for this? And we thought of you, Morwyn. And so we passed the books on to you to take a read.
And that's also what drew me to the books was the character. And the show in many ways is very different from the books, but in many ways, the way that it's very true is that the character of Jenny really does retain this kind of amazing vibrancy in life and flawed ways. And I wonder, Serinda, if you would talk a little bit about the process of like embodying Jenny and all her, like you've picked weird, right? And like, what makes her so weird and fascinating to you?
Well, I think a lot of that came through the writing, was how human she is. And I think we're all a little weird, like I think we all have this like really wonderful, unique character traits. Sometimes, that sometimes we get to share and sometimes we don't. And so I think Jenny, for the most of her life, has really suppressed those quirks and suppressed those emotions. And I loved being able to correlate her life and mine together of when and what I've been told to be and how to act and things like that. And watching this woman break open as well as break down and break apart. And I think that was one of the most interesting things to see as a character, this breaking in positive and negative. And I think it's something that was really interesting to see on television that I hadn't seen before. So a lot of it was on the page. And then when I met with the two of you guys, the ability to be able to play and feel the freedom to find myself in Jenny and also Jenny in myself, and then build this complete world that's outside of me that I'm like, I would never do that. How interesting. Let's figure out how to do it. So it's been like a really fun process. And I think I just fell in love with the humanity behind her.
Oh, well, she is so strange and so interesting, and she relates to everyone. I feel like she relates to each person's character in a very unique way, which is really fun to watch. Like, I can think of every scene, every time she has scenes with everybody here, I'm like, there is a different level of delight in those scenes. Do you know what I mean? It's really, it's very fun and very fun to watch and very fun to write for. And one of the first people we meet that she interacts with is Donovan McAvoy. And I feel like you guys have you have your own perspective on Jenny and on yourself and what Donovan brings to the job. And maybe Roger, could you talk a little about what that's like with talk a little about McAvoy and then about how your perspective on the work that you and Jenny do and what it's like for you guys to relate.
McAvoy, I love this guy. He's a good guy. I mean, and as I said, he's a hardworking guy. He's a guy who's been there, done that. He's been a detective for a long time. And he's basically in his mind, and like with most people, because you've been doing things for so long, you've done them at a high level, you feel you've got it all figured out. And in a lot of instances he does. But then along comes, the Jenna character, and just she's wild and crazy and wants to wreck everything and fix everything. And he's kind of like, slow down. And then he's kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe some of her passion is a good thing. And so, that's what's interesting. I think they learn from each other. She learns to be a little calmer, and he learns, maybe I need a little bit more passion. And so that's what's fun about it. These characters constantly evolve and grow. And I believe McAvoy's from your mind. I don't believe he really existed in the book so much.
There was a character called McAvoy in the books. This is what's weird, is there was a character called McAvoy in the books, but he was actually a lawyer, and he was only in one book. And so we liked the character so much that we reined and brought him into the fold.
Yeah, I mean, the character in the book was someone who really challenged Jenny. Wasn't like the nodding dog on the dashboard. He was very much challenging her, and in a fun way. There's definitely a mutual respect there. But they were so different, came at things sort of different. So it's you were really looking for an actor who could, two actors who could vibe off of each other with that great chemistry.
That's my dog.
What? There's a dog. My black dog.
Is Buddha jumping around trying to figure it out?
Buddha is laying in front of
his. That's my dog. That's
that
noise.
Not
even listening.
I'm so sorry, Roger. One sec. Keep talking. I'm just going to.
Okay. Somebody did not read the books, Roger.
I just wanted to ask you two, and then we're going to get on to Tamara and Kiley, but just you two were actually knew each other before this show and had a friendship and association. So I guess my question to both of you from a director's perspective too is, how do you approach chemistry when you're working together, when you actually know each other too? Do you bring part of that into it? Is it a point of departure in any way? So I'd like both of you to talk about that.
For me, I don't think you do. I think every character is unique and every character is different. And whether you're friends or not, it's kind of like you have to tell this person's story. It's a new character. And if, for example, in the show, we're supposed to be enemies, I mean, I'm sure chemistry, even if you're villains and and the protagonists and things like that, you can still have great chemistry, and that's what makes some shows fun, when, you know, the good guy and the bad guy are the total opposites are, you know, together. But I think it helped that we're friends. And I mean, we did a short film together 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. 15 years ago, and we had a lot of mutual friends around Vancouver, and like we knew each other, we hung out and stuff. So it was great when, you know, got this, and then you were one of the first calls going, I hear you're doing it. I'm like,
yeah. I know, because I got the list and you being like, so Roger Cross, and I was like, Roger? I was like, no way. We've known each other forever. I think working with somebody that you know, on the development side makes it a little bit easier, because as you're flushing things out, you can have a conversation with the person. And knowing them a little bit more allows you to obviously have the boundaries and respect for the other person as an artist, but also be able to talk to them in a way of being like, yo, what are you thinking here? Like, how can I do this? Like, what are we doing? Like, what's, you know, it just, in the acting industry, you have to portray relationships of many years sometimes with no background. And this is a new relationship with background.
That's right.
Flipped on its head from what we're normally used to. But it's lovely. It's been, you know, it was something that we got on set, and Roger and I don't always agree. And I like that we have a friendship to be able to back ourselves up on and be like, wait, let's talk this out. This is cool. So it's like, I think it's given us a little bit more artistic freedom to take up the space that we need. And I think, as this being my first lead on a television show, to be able to feel that freedom. And it's also something like Tamara gives me and Kiley gives me, is this sort of, I feel like I'm around some of the most supportive people. And it's interesting because when they talk about like supporting cast, I always was like, oh, like that's just a terminology. But when you understand the actual support that comes from the people around you and how you can do your job better and how you're uplifted and how you're inspired, it really is a support system. And I hope I'm supporting cast to them as well, you know. And so it's been wonderful to have new friends and old friends on set. And
it's true. It's a great group to go to work with. And, you know, I've done this for a long time. And it's like, some shows you're like, okay, I'm just showing up to do my job. Others you're like, I want to be there and I like these people and I want to be around these people. So, you know, I miss you guys right now.
Yeah, it's hard not to like hug people with, because we're huggers on set.
I accidentally hugged Sammy. I almost like, I touched Sammy today, that our amazing DOP, and everyone went, oh no, don't.
I know, it's gonna be weird.
Wear a mask and hold your breath. I know it's gonna be.
I had my mask on, but we were like, I was going, it's so crazy.
It's a whole new me too. No, I won't go there.
No. But I feel like it's interesting. Yeah, it's all, no one's touching anyone. I feel like another aspect of the show that's incredibly cool is like the world, like the coroner. There's the bodies, there's the whole like world of the show. And I have like two sort of world questions. First, for Kiley, because Kiley, along with many other brilliant talents, you have this ability that always blows my mind, where you play like someone who has incredible technical skills, and you can pick up any instrument, any medical instrument, anything, and you look like you really know what you're doing all the time. Always, you know what you're doing. You're around all these dead bodies, and what is it like? First of all, what is it like being surrounded by dead bodies, and in the autopsy suite? And second of all, like, what is the process of portraying and like an expert, along with portraying the character, portraying this like expertise?
Right. So firstly, I actually really love horror. I've been a huge horror fan, scary movie fan my entire life. And before I knew I wanted to act, I'd always had a fascination with how films were made. And whenever I saw things, especially, like special effects makeup, I was always really fascinated and wondered how that was done and how that was made. So being on a show that has so much gore, so much macabre, so much dead bodies, I think a normative person would kind of be like freaked out, but I'm kind of weird, so I love it. So it's so much fun to like the scenes where we're doing like a Y incision or in an autopsy, and like the makeup people are just splashing blood on me. I'm just like, yes. I love it. It's my little Carrie moment. But, you know, in doing research and preparing for the role, I looked into what a pathologist is, what they do. I watched some like little documentaries, watched pathologists talking about what their role is. So, you know, I studied some things, you know, about instruments, what they were, like the different kinds, like autopsy saws, there's brain knives, there's enterotomy scissors, there's scalpels, like skull chisels. There's so many things. So I just like looked into those, as well as I sort of like tumbled down a dark rabbit hole looking into like actual crime scene investigation and how that works. So I actually got used to it by you know, like looking like case reports, studying actual I guess cases that a pathologist would do. So that sort of helped me to absorb this, because I really did want to capture that River was a character who's been doing this for a while. Like, she was an expert, and to her, it doesn't faze her. This is just her job. But also I think, well, like with terminology, like the lingo, you know, like the language that they use, I've always sort of been really cerebral and academic. So I think I was really able to grasp onto their terminology and the certain the expert language that they have. But research played a large role, as well as being fascinated by all of the dead bodies and special effects makeup.
I feel like if anybody looked at our like before we all prepped and went into our like our Google search history, they'd be like, we need to watch these humans.
Yeah.
Like, they're not
We're definitely on some
like,
FBI watch list.
She's Googling murder too much and brain chisels and honestly, Kiley, it shows. Like, I think the grace and the posture that you bring to her as well. Like, she has the most incredible posture. And when she comes in, and that's one of the first things that I noticed, and now listening to this more, like how prepared you are and how you've done all this research, like it's something that just feels so natural. But I just love also the physicality of River too. I just think it's such a cool choice. And I think it goes so well with the juxtaposition of the humor that you bring to her. So that was one of the really amazing things to see, that duality that you brought, because sometimes you don't get that sort of an interesting choice that often. So that was, I remember the first few days of working with you, I was like, okay, this is great. I love it. So yeah,
it's funny when you talk about the rabbit hole, and this like leads me to like tomorrow, what I'm going to ask you is you do like, the show is like a mix of tones, right? Like sometimes it's very funny, and then sometimes it's really not funny. And we have this like, it's deliberate, you know, it is like an unusual tone that is a lot like life is sometimes, right? And Allison is like this like ray of sunshine, the thing you bring to her tomorrow. She's like this incredible like force of love and light, and that she brings that into every interaction that she has. And I wonder if you could talk about like her and that, and I wonder, and you don't have to talk about it, but one thing that happens with the show is there's this beautiful feedback between the actors and the writing and the creation. And Tamara, you talked about the backstory that you made for Allison, which is very, you know, which gives her another layer. And also because of that backstory, without spoilers, we've ended up writing that backstory into the show. And, you know, that's like something that's really a special thing. And I wonder if you just talk a little about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, you created, like, just on paper from the first time that I read Allison, she was already this kind of electric, you know, buzz of that just kind of worked her way around the office, like an electrical current that kind of kept everything working. And just by receiving that first is like my base layer to work from. Then I brought whatever human experience, you know, would make that that person be there in that job, in that line of work. And I think, you know, when you say that light or that positivity, I think Allison really does believe she's doing good in the world. And so that's infused into everything that she does. There is a purpose, there's a drive. And when I say loyal, as one of her traits. She is, of course, we learn as their relationship grows, we see how she is with Jenny and the loyalty that grows there. But I think her original loyalty is to the people and her community, that she is there to serve the people. She works at a coroner's office for the truth and to fight for the good. And to make sure that justice prevails. And I think with that intention is kind of what guides her. And then the quirkiness was on the paper. All I did was like let myself fully explore how quirky that could be. But I always say this story of when I did the audition. It was like the first one was a self-tape at home with my husband, and he was like, "Oh wow, you're really going like you're making her pretty out there." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? No, I feel okay. If it's too much, they'll turn me down." And you guys just never turned me down. So Allison just continued to let's say, to vibrate kind of bigger and bigger. But yeah, I think what happened was, being an Indigenous woman and then being cast in a role of a woman who works at a coroner's office, I had to answer the question of why an Indigenous person would work in an environment or an organization that is, that has a history of such systemic racism. And because I have to answer to myself, to my, the people who have also been supporters of mine, and I have to connect those dots. It's especially, these days we have to make those connections. And so for myself, I had to create for season 1, the story is of why this woman would choose to work at a place that, she's either experienced or knows somebody who's experienced the corruption at the hands of the police or the courts or the coroner's office. And so I was quite fine with having that story for myself. It served me and what I needed. But then when we got renewed for season 2, and I knew you guys were going back into the writer's room, I had this one, opportunity to really voice my thoughts of like, before you start writing anything, I have to tell you something really, really important about Allison. And I'm so grateful that you created a space where I could share what that story was, because it was very carefully felt and created, and then grew over that first season. And then you guys just you gave me that chance, and you gave then Allison that chance to really have time, like screen time, to show that story. And the beautiful thing is that it's one thing that happens, and then it just spirals out from there, and the story can expand, and it's so much more far reaching, and it doesn't feel like it's such an isolated experience. It's people, so many more people can relate, and then you have all these other ways to access this experience that may be underrepresented, misunderstood. And I think we did that well. I think you did that. We all did that really well in season 2.
We all did it, we all did it. And we tried, like, we do try, I feel like in the show, we all try to like bring the world into the show. I think that that's true. And I feel like in season 1, there's the episode where really you see like Donovan break out in episode 6, which has like some amazing scenes, like just, I can't spoil or anything. I'm like the spoiler queen. I can't talk about it, but we try to bring, like, I feel like for me, that episode, which Seneca Aaron wrote so beautifully, like I felt like we've been trying to be in conversation with the world, and that was the episode we were like, oh yeah, we really can be.
No, most definitely. That was a terrific episode. That's one of the first episodes you guys sent me. And
yes.
Before I did anything, so I was like, I remember reading that and going, "Oh, they're gonna go there," and especially with current situation, with everything happening around us today. I think when people watch that episode, it'll resonate, and I think people will be very impressed by how bravely it was dealt with, but not harped on in a lot of ways. It was presented, and it showed how in life, like, if you go back to the world wars and everything else like that, how when people just kind of like let things happen without addressing it, how things can build and get to where it is. Because a lot of people, they didn't support Hitler, but they just didn't do anything when he was coming out. And by their inaction, the man gained power, and we have World War II. By, someone like Donovan McAvoy, who's in the police force, by his own inactions, he allowed some systemic racism and things to occur because he's like, oh no, it doesn't happen. Or he chose to, in a sense, because he's doing the right thing, he feels other people are doing the right thing, and kind of ignored certain things that, it comes back and he has to deal with. And it's terrific, well written. I thank you, thanks Seneca, for giving me the opportunity to play that. And then I think people are going to enjoy that episode.
I think so. I feel like with this cast, people, Tamara.
Well, just speaking of Seneca, I should properly also credit Shannon Masters, because you opened up the writer's room to an Indigenous writer. Sure. And I wish you could also, everyone could also see a snapshot of what our writer's room looks like. True. Because, part of it is what's going on right now are initiatives, and part of them is a trend. But you guys were talking 3 years ago, that your room looked like what people are fighting to get their room to look like now.
Yeah.
Well,
and
we have the best
Coroner writer's room looked like that, and it was beautiful. And I remember that first day that we walked in, and to see what that table looked like, it was like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
Well, Tamara, the same thing goes for the cast. Like I'll never forget the very first reading that we had, table reading for season 1. And everybody was looking around at each other. And I had so many, I don't know more if you did, but so many of the actors are coming at me. I've never seen a room of actors that was so diverse, and people were just really, anyways, it was just a really wonderful experience to be able to have a show where we could bring all this incredible acting talent together, and all the like, what you bring to it. It just makes the series so much more enriching and more reflective of our city. It was just so great to see that talent in the room like that.
And I'll also say, just being a part of being let in on the casting side of things, and when we did some chemistry reads and things like that, to look at it and understand that even as we go now, like most of our characters are not defined in any capacity. We're like, is it a man? Is it a woman? Who's going to audition? No idea. And that none of these roles were tokenized. All of these roles were people showing up and bringing authenticity and bringing their voice and bringing their ability to have an amazing backstory. Like I remember, Tamara, when we did our chemistry read together, that quirk that you saw on the page and that you're like, it was already there and amazing. Yes, but what you brought to it, you walked out of the room and we were all like, well, shit, that's, like, oh my God. Because like I suddenly, something in me changed. And what's beautiful is nobody is playing, like leaning, like we're not pointing at anything, we're living it. And I think that's something that's been really incredible for me to experience, not only professionally, but personally, to be able to see each backstory that we have. Like for Jenny dealing with mental health issues, like I just feel there's a richness that it's this thing that I say before where it's like, I'm not a coroner who happens to be a human. I'm a human who happens to be a coroner. And, for Kiley, River's not, you don't go in and you're like, oh, I'm just a pathologist and I'm going to try to inject as much human in there so I feel like an actor rather than a puppet. It's like there's these opportunities to come in there and represent. And it was such a cool moment sitting at that table and just being like, wow, like this is going to be incredible. And it's going to be something that, down the line, I'm going to be really proud to see be brought around the world. Cause I just think there's such unique voices and stories, and it's been so much fun. It was so cool to be in the casting room and like see just the like, oh yeah. Hi, there you are. Like I've never been a part of that before. So it was just this like thing where you're like, oh, when you know, like that just happens. It happens. So yeah, it was, I loved that moment with both of you guys. I was like, ah!
There's a lot of good, like you guys all have sort of amazing chemistry. But would you say, and the show is like a mix of tones. What's the tone like on set? What would the tone be like on set?
Heavy.
Are there any, like,
Oh God, so heavy and serious.
Serinda's bad jokes. Serinda's bad
So
jokes.
silly.
There's
silliness, non-stop.
I almost posted yesterday on the CW on their one where I walk up to you and I give you a dime and then I give you a pickle and I'm like, pickle and dime.
No, you posted a different one. No, CW posted a different one. The one where you brought up the
I posted that. I took over Instagram yesterday on CW and
yes.
I was going through the other ones. Like I had like this syringa, and then I like went through the heart attack and was like heart attack.
Yeah.
You know, I had to choose one because I was like, I can only out myself so far.
So
but you
much.
guys were so lovely for putting up with my.
Yeah, and Ali posted the one where we were doing, you know, our detective training, and we're coming in through the door, and of course I came in kind of in an unusual way, being a goof and just running through, but we had fun. Yeah. It's a serious job, but you know, we do it, we take it seriously, but we like to, and I think we enjoy being around each other and we have fun with each other. So I think that adds to everything. Except for when it's driving Adrienne crazy. Except when it's driving Adrienne crazy.
Oh, don't worry, I'm going to have my moment talking about that. But Kiley, Kiley has an interesting story because she was very new to this, especially in season 1, and this was your first television role, Kiley. So I would like to ask you, what was it like to just have this whole world open up to you?
Oh, goodness. It was a lot. So I was in theater school when I started talking to this agent about the potentiality of her representing me. And I was like, well, I think I'm going to finish theater school first, and then, you know, I will come talk to you when I'm done. And she told me, well, okay, sure, I'll keep you in mind. And if in the meantime, an opportunity comes up that I think you're good for, I'll let you know. I was like, cool. And then very shortly after, she emailed me and told me, like, okay, so there's this new show that's being developed. It's being made. It's called Coroner, and there is this role that I think you're good for. And I was like, okay. So I was on my lunch hour in theater school. I pulled 2 students aside. We went into a studio. We set up it was like the card game scene. And I got one guy to read with me and someone to operate the camera, sent it in, and that was that. And you liked it. I guess you liked it.
Oh, we loved you instantly.
It was like, you liked me.
And then, yeah, it's okay. And then I came in for the callback, and I guess you really liked me. And then I was cast, which I was so grateful for, but I was blown away because I had this really difficult time. I was, like I said, straight out of theater school onto a TV set. I've never been in a TV show. I've been on smaller film sets for like small short films, but it was a learning curve for me. It was kind of like a culture shock, being like a trained theater actor and then having to sort of tone it down for TV. For film. I recall, like in the first season, there was so much to learn. I just felt so dizzy and confused and like kind of like awestruck. Just like little things like, you know, like the sound techs coming up to me. They're like, there's a mic right under your chin. You can sort of chill on the voice projection. I'm like, got it. Okay, great. But you know, like little things like that, not knowing my way around, not knowing the hierarchy. I was so green. I was such a rookie. And I felt really overwhelmed in season 1. And, you know, I never really talked about this a lot, but I actually suffered with a lot of imposter syndrome in season 1 because I was so new, so inexperienced. I didn't really have a lot of acting credit. And I was surrounded by such like talented, accomplished, seasoned actors. And I just had like little moments where I was just like, what am I doing here? Like, this is wild. And it started to affect me a little bit, but then I just sort of like worked through it, had to sort of like, you know what, I'm here for a reason. They saw something in me. And then just like trusting you know, myself, trusting my talent. And season 2, I grew so much more and became so much more comfortable. I learned so much more about just, you know, set life. But I appreciate everyone around me, like the set, the crew, everybody, including Serinda. I recall Serinda that time. Do you remember when you asked me like if I knew what a call sheet was and how it worked? And I was like, I don't. And then you just sat me down and you like walked me through it. Just like little things like that. I really appreciate it. And everyone is so warm, so welcoming. It's fun. Like I love being on set also, like what Roger said, like going to set, knowing you like the people. It's a great, warm, welcoming vibe. And that everyone is encouraging and helpful. So I feel like I've grown so much as an actor on this show. Like I was such a baby when I started, but you know, I'm learning to find myself. So it's been great. Yeah.
We all feel like imposters. It's like literally, I felt like an imposter almost every single set I go to. It because you get more, you have the ability to hear the voice and then put it away. But yeah, I remember that and sitting down and you're just such a light on set. Like it's just so much fun, and being able to pick your brain and be able to like sit, and you're always just, like you hold just a grace on set that's been so lovely. And I think that was something that I remember. I almost had a similar experience where I came straight out of nothing into being like, oh shit, like I don't know what mark means. I don't know what find your light. I'm like find it physically and like what is it? And I remember like you just had this grace about you. And I remember being like, I remember that I had no idea how to read a call sheet. And for people that haven't read call sheets, it's one of the most confusing things in the world to have to read. And I feel like there's been so many beautiful moments over the first and second season, just watching you grow and like flourish. And it's been amazing.
Thank you. Some of it was like learning the hard way, but you know, I figured it out. Like I was like, oh, I can't just go to the bathroom when I want to. Got that. Okay.
Where's Kylie? Where did Kylie go? She was just here. Kylie was just here a second ago.
Okay, got it.
That's amazing. I had no idea you were fresh out of theater school. I had no idea.
That's
Those
awesome.
feelings you felt inside you, you presented, like Serinda saying, with incredible grace and like poise, like that's wild. Thank you for sharing that.
Everyone, I feel so bad having to jump in right now. I know we got such a late start and so we've gone a little over time, which was cool because we got a late start. I don't want to wrap us before if we have missed something that you really wanted to talk about. So we could have one more question, or if you feel like we've discussed everything and everyone's happy with it, we can kind of do a closing and thank everybody for coming to the panel and joining us, or whatever you want to do. What do you think, Morwyn?
Does anyone, Roger, you look like maybe you have a thought?
No. I'm just like, all right, no, let's you're in control. We're your puppets.
I am the puppet master.
I just want to say, from a director's perspective, I just say that the joy that it has been such a joy to work with all of you actors. It's such a one thing to just to end this is like we're all kind of see each other as sort of filmmakers together working on this really beautifully written, cool project. And there is beautiful collaboration between us all. And it's a real pleasure to see things just as a director lift off the page with Roger, your like sense of humor, your how you bring it, the kind of this subtle depth, but it's done in such a subtle manner that brings you in even more. With Serinda's like being able to go from like this like very deep angsty moment to this all of a sudden this like crazy fun quippy vibe. To Tamara, you're like, oh my God, Tamara's sense of humor and poignancy and that energy that you bring to your humor is just, it's just mind blowing. Like everybody would email me going, I love her. And Kylie, the soulfulness that you bring, the care that you feel for those poor dead bodies that are there in front of you, the respect you bring as a pathologist, which honors our pathologist consultants so much, it's just been an incredible, amazing collaboration with all of you. As a director, it's just been amazing.
And I say that, I second that so much. Like, I feel like this is like an incredible, incredible group of artists to work with. And the show is like an alchemy of everybody and everybody's artistry, like Adrienne is saying. And Adrienne, your artistry too, and the beautiful visual, like cinematic style of the show. And, you know, the like our show is really special and made with like this incredible love and this incredible collaboration. And like, I feel it like just looking at you all. I just want to be in a room with everyone again and like experience this beautiful way of working on the show that I think we're all so incredibly proud of. I'm grateful to you all.
We love y'all.
We love you guys. I can't wait to see you guys.
Love you.
Few weeks out.
Love you. Goodbye,
Love you
everyone, and
guys.
everyone who tuned in. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks for watching. Be safe.